The Bread and Better podcast acknowledges the Yagara people and the Turrbal people as the traditional custodians of Meanjin, the lands on which we record today. We pay our respects to the Yagara and Turrbal elders, past, present, and emerging. This podcast is brought to you by Hey Al Productions.
Did I say good? Did I get you to do it one more time? Maybe just in case. Okay, do it one more time. Go. Bread and Better podcast. Okay. Bread and Better podcast. I feel like I am. Bread and Better podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the Bread and Better podcast. You may have forgotten about me because Alex did such a fantastic job without me on the last episode that she recorded with Grace. Just joking, how could you forget? But as a refresher, I am Tegan. I'm an online lifestyle coach with a background in personal training and sports nutrition. I'm passionate about helping women become the best version of themselves through education and empowerment. And I feel so lucky to be able to do that to a larger audience too via the podcast.
I certainly did not forget about you, and I felt like it was a very long 2 weeks that you were gone. So I'm very happy to have you back. For those of you who haven't listened before, I am Alex. I'm a writer with a focus on women's health, parenting and travel. I'm the owner of Hey Al Productions and the mum of 3.
So we usually do the best thing that we ate in the last week, but I have just been on a holiday to Vietnam. So I'm going to talk about the best thing that I ate on my holiday.
Yes.
And over the course of this episode today, it's a little bit of a mishmash. So Alex and I are just catching up. We're going to talk about my trip. We're going to talk about Alex's try. We're going to recap the episode that Alex did with Grace. And yeah, we'll just take it from there.
Yeah.
So I do have a few stories to tell from my trip. And I think to start with, the food one.
I don't know how you narrow it down because it looks like you ate so much good food.
We did. We ate so much really, really good food, and I got to kind of paint the scene for you on this one.
Okay.
So the best thing that I ate was the second last day before we came back. But for the first, I'd say probably 8 or 9 days, we ate strictly Vietnamese food. So we would have our buffet breakfast, which I was having noodles and rice. If people might have saw on my Instagram, I shared some of my really random breakfasts.
Yeah.
And then we would get something local for our lunch and our dinner. We would try and pick really busy places on the street, or we would eat at like little local restaurants.
Yeah.
However, by the time we got to Ho Chi Minh City, we were pretty over Vietnamese food.
Fair.
Just because we'd been having nothing but that. It was all delicious and we loved it. And we had a food tour booked for the second last day. And we were thinking, oh my God, like why would you put a food tour on the second last day? We'd also had a pretty interesting experience with our first food tour because it was a private one. And if you ever have a choice between doing a private or a group food tour, don't ever do a private one.
Ah, really?
It's just really awkward because it's just you and the guide and they're watching you eat.
Do they eat too?
They eat as well, but Fraz that I went with isn't a very fast eater or a very big eater.
Yeah.
So what's happened is we've gone to our first 2 places and we've had like over half a banh mi and like 6 dumplings each. And I think we had a really light lunch, and this is maybe like 4:00 in the afternoon. Anyway, then we get to our third stop, which is a homestay. And a little Vietnamese lady is cooking us this nice noodle dish, and we're sitting on her like little patio and we're surrounded by their organic veggie gardens.
Yeah.
Anyway, we get this beautiful passion fruit drink to start with, which was absolutely stunning, but we're already feeling quite full.
Yeah. Sorry, this is like you're so adventurous. Like the thought of me going to someone's house in a random country and them cooking me a meal gives me so much anxiety.
Well, it's going to after this.
I'm surprised Fraz did this and impressed.
So Fraz has like started eating these noodles and she's just so full that she's done like a dry reach and she's just looked at me with pure panic in her eyes. And, you know, when you're doing those like breaths like through the nose, so you're trying not to vomit. And I'm just looking around and being like, where is she going to go? Like there's no visible bathroom nearby. We're surrounded by like beautiful veggie gardens. And I was like, if she's going to throw up, like she's going to have to do it
in her bowl.
That's what I thought. Anyway, she rallied and just like she just got herself together and kept eating the noodles.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so we're on these bikes. We go to the next stop and she just says to the guy, I can't eat anything here.
Yeah.
And then I was pretty full too. We had like 3 more stops after this.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so I told him that we were going to just finish up at that location, and I tried to eat as much as I could to kind of take the heat off the fact that she wasn't eating. This poor man looked so disappointed. And we're like, it's nothing to do with you. We ate too much too early.
Yeah.
So when we're going on our last food tour, we were like, we aren't sure about food tours anymore.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were in Ho Chi Minh City, which used to be Saigon.
Yeah.
And we were having traditional Saigon food, which is very different from other Vietnamese food.
Right.
And it was all just so delicious. We made sure we were really conscious of our portion sizing and how much we ate. And we skipped lunch that day. But everything we had was absolutely delicious. The best thing was this duck.
Yeah.
And it was like a little tiny stall in the street, like a box, like a cart.
Oh my God.
And they've got all these ducks hanging up.
Yeah.
And they apparently only sell them to Vietnamese people, and they only work between like 4 and 7. If you come at 7, they'll be sold out, or until sold out.
Oh my God.
And it's like so popular, this duck. Oh my God.
Yeah, duck is my favorite food in the whole world.
It
So
was
jealous.
the best duck that I've ever had, hands down. And it was in this sort of plummy flavored sauce. And there was cucumbers, and you dipped like the French crusty bread into the sauce.
Oh my God.
So the duck was, the best thing, in my
Sounds
opinion.
incredible.
Fraz might say the noodles at that lady's house, but I don't think so.
Poor Fraz. Well, I don't really have one. I wrote salad before I ate my dinner last night, thinking my salad was going to be really good. But in all honesty, it wasn't great.
Oh.
And it was fine.
Why did it flop?
I tried. I was doing a barbecue chicken salad, which is one of our favorites, and they were out of stub sauce, and I tried a new one, and it was just a bit flat. And so the meal, and I got gastro during the last week because I was at the hospital with Magnolia, and she had a head injury. It's been like a pretty rough week, and I was I really had to go to the toilet. I was busting to wee, but there was just no opportunity, and I didn't want to go to the toilet in the ED because I was like, I will for sure get something. But then I was busting and I had to go, and I went. I washed my hands profusely, but then when I left, this little girl very obviously had gastro and like was standing next to the bathroom, and I was like, oh my God, I'm doomed. And then, the next day I got gastro. So I haven't really eaten much.
How wildly different are our immune systems?
Right?
You're like, I stood near a person that had gastro and now I'm sick.
Now I'm sick.
And I'm like, I've been eating random meat off the street.
And you're totally fine. Sol got it as well. So it was rough. But so nothing really great for me. I'll try and eat some nice stuff on the weekend. I might actually you've inspired me to get the plum duck from Thai Antique.
You can't say that again though, because you've said Thai Antique twice now.
I know.
didn't miss that. That was double up.
We've been getting it every week. And in all honesty, I had Thai Antique after the gastro cleared, and I got green curry, and it repeated on me for like 2 days.
Oh,
So,
darling.
it's been tough.
Well, I've been eating enough for about 7 people.
Yeah,
so
you can just keep going with yours.
so many good foods. So I think I already said that this is a bit of a mismatch of an episode, but I wanted to start off by recapping the episode that you did with Grace. This is, except for the time that I interviewed Kev.
Yeah.
That was the first time we've kind of like divided off, and you did it by yourself with Grace. And the episode is just fantastic, and I know a lot of people are really getting a lot out of it. I think the biggest takeaway that I had from the episode, and it was coming back from my trip.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of big lessons about my personality at the end of the trip. And I think that you do find that. Like, this was the longest holiday that I've ever been on in my life.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was too long.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. When I traveled Europe, I think I was like, it was 6 months, and I was like,
Keep in mind that
might
I
never work
am
again.
extremely regimented.
You are, yes. Yeah.
So
I was thinking about you.
So towards the end of the trip, the spicy traits that I have were really working overtime. And I just wanted to say, like, on the episode with Grace, like I'm not a person that's neurodivergent, and Grace touched on multiple times like a lot of these things everybody experiences.
Yes.
And I think my takeaway from that episode, and especially because I was really feeling it at the time, is we might have one or two of these things that affect us as people that aren't neurodivergent. But imagine having like 15, 20 different things that you're contending with every single day.
Yeah.
And that was just the perspective that I got listening to the episode. I think I was listening to it 2 days after I'd gotten back.
Yeah.
And I just thought, I just had a new perspective on how challenging it must be for someone like Grace or someone with ADHD or someone with autism to get through a single day.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we might have one or two things that really bother us and that really frustrate us and that we really struggle with. And I was just coming off an experience of how challenging that could be. Like imagine if that's your everyday reality.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really good perspective actually. When you said that you were going to recap it, I was like, I wonder what she's going to say. But then when you told me that, I was like, yeah, that's so interesting. And I hope other people kind of took that away as well.
Yeah, if you just think about that one thing, and we talked about that meme and I was meaning to find it, but I haven't been able to find it again and share it on the podcast page where it's like I heard 3 sounds at once and now I'm a bitch.
Yes. Oh, don't worry. I've got it. A lot of people will send me that.
It's just like if somebody is watching TV and I'm trying to read a book and then they open something on their phone, I'm like, my head is going to explode.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like a situation that comes up for me once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
And it was just like the way that she describes things and explained things and just different points that I could relate to.
Yeah.
It just made me have a whole new perspective of how challenging that must be.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think it was such a great episode, and Grace was so honest with her experience, and a few people commented to me that it was just really nice to hear just like a casual conversation between friends about it. It wasn't such like an in-depth expose type thing.
Definitely. And yeah, I just thought it was a whole new perspective, and I have a lot of experience with autism. My sister's autistic, so I'm pretty familiar with a lot of it, but the way that Grace explained it and how educated that she's made herself and the stuff that she's doing with the Neurospicy Club, is fantastic.
Yeah, she's doing a lot of good.
So yeah, well done, Alex. Very proud of you, and well done, Grace. I thought the episode was absolutely fantastic.
That's so nice.
Do you want to talk about the try next? Or do you want me to keep yapping on?
You keep yapping on and then we'll get to the try. I need to emotionally
decompress,
prepare myself for what I'm going to share. Not that all of our regular listeners know, but
I think it's important to talk about because we have there's been a lot of pre-chat.
There has, yeah. You tell us about your trip and then we'll get to that.
I'll keep going. So we went to Vietnam.
Yeah.
We started at the top at Hanoi, and the way that we were traveling was from the colder climate to the hotter climate.
Yeah.
And being such
clever.
Being such a summer babe.
Yeah.
I was like, perfect. But if you're planning a trip, I would do it the other way.
Okay.
Because my favorite places were at the start and my least favorite places were at the end.
Right.
So I think if you went the other way around, you'd be like, fuck, this is just getting better and better.
Yeah.
So we flew into Hanoi, which is the capital now, and I don't have any luggage is the first thing that happened.
Yeah.
So they lost my luggage. We now know that it was in Singapore the entire time.
Yeah.
Usually when I used to travel with my ex-boyfriend, I would always have a joint carry-on and I'd say pack your favorite things and just a few things you need in this joint carry-on in case our luggage ever goes missing.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had a 10-hour stopover in Singapore. We were going outside the airport. We wanted to explore, so it was just a backpack, YOLO, change of clothes because it was going to be like cold on the plane, hot in Singapore. Randomly, I jammed like 3 pairs of undies in my carry-on, which was really lucky because I really needed those. And I bought this hat in Singapore airport or in the jewel thing at Changi Airport. And we called this my emotional support hat because it's the only thing that I owned.
Oh my God.
Anyway, we got to the airport. They'd lost my bag. I was annoyed for sure.
Yeah.
But reflecting on things that I learned about myself on this trip, I was really proud of how regulated I was about it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't yell. I didn't cry.
Yeah.
I was just like, that's so annoying.
Yeah.
Like we're starting this holiday and now I've got to like contact travel insurance, get onto the airport, fill out this form. Like anyway, we got to the hotel. We kind of did all of that in the transfer.
Yeah.
So we got to the hotel and I was like, it was 12 degrees.
Oh my God.
And I've got no
so
clothes.
cold.
Luckily I'm like wearing I've got a pair of long pants.
Yeah.
So we go out, we're like, okay, it's like 9:00 at night, but the shops stay open until 10. Like we're going to go out and we're going to find a jacket and a day-to-day little bag for me to use. And if we can start with that, we'll just take it one day at a time.
Yeah.
So we went out, we found the jacket, found the bag, easy, love them both. They look great. Had a couple of cocktails, first day fine. And luckily I was traveling with Braz. So she is roughly the same size as me and she lent me a pair of linen pants that I proceeded to wear for 3 days straight. But yeah, so we started in Hanoi. And then we went for a cruise in Halong Bay, which was just absolutely stunning.
Yeah.
Then we went back to Hanoi for one night and then we went down to Hoi An, which is the old ancient city with all the beautiful boats and street markets, and it was just absolutely stunning. Pretty hot there, and that's like a good place to get things tailored.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing to do if you don't have any clothes.
Yeah.
My suitcase actually turned up when we were there, so I'd lost it for 7 days.
Oh, God.
So the first week. And by that point, I was like, you may as well just send it back to Brizzy.
Yeah, right.
I
You're like, I'm halfway through.
I don't need it anymore. Like we were doing washing across the road every day at like the street place where they do your washing. It's all folded up and it's beautiful and fresh. Costs about $1 for a kilo. Like so cheap. So I guess the lost luggage lesson was just like how attached we are to things.
Yeah.
And at the start I was really bummed and I thought it's like you can get money.
Yeah.
But it's like your favorite clothes, you know, vintage denim and things that aren't sold anymore. And I was really annoyed that my Oura Ring charger was in there and my Oura Ring was going to go flat, and I've been working so hard to get the data in on my cycle. But I was like, you can travel a lot lighter than you think.
Yeah.
Like just a small backpack, you can get around Asia for a week, even if it's cold.
Yeah.
Probably air tags are a good idea.
Yes.
So you can at least know where it is. I didn't have air tags, so I had no idea. I would pack some undies in your travel, like carry-on travel luggage, and travel with a friend that's roughly the same size as you.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That's a good lesson. And it's like willing and happy to share with you.
Yeah. That's a key thing, because do you know what I thought of when you said that? So when I was traveling Europe, I traveled with one of my, she was my best friend in the world at the time. I was 21 and we had very different budgets and traveled very differently. I was very much shoestring, and one day we were going out and I was a bit sick of wearing Converse every day. So she lent me her Prada sandals. And we went out in Amsterdam and I got pretty inebriated and I was taking really good care of these shoes. Well, and then I was walking home and a guy stood on the back and the heels it snapped.
Oh, no.
Oh my God, she was filthy at me for the rest of the week, and I just felt so bad, and I couldn't even be like, I'll replace these because they were $600 shoes. So I've never borrowed anything off anyone ever again.
I think I wouldn't borrow something that expensive because I'm destructive at best. No, I think it's really important to be a little bit selective of who you travel with.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of time.
You guys traveled for a very long time together.
Yeah, we did. And I think that's the longest I've been 24/7 with another human.
Yeah.
Maybe ever.
That's so funny.
Maybe ever. And we shared rooms, we shared beds, we did absolutely everything together.
Yeah. We
traveled so well together. We shared all of our meals, and she'd be like, oh, do you want to get this drink and share? And I'd be like, yep. And she'd be like, I love traveling with you.
Yeah.
We did travel so well together. However, in the last few days, I was ready to be by myself. Yeah. Which we had which we had conversations about. Yeah. I just realized that I'm definitely an introverted extrovert. I love to be around people, but I need to be able to recharge.
Yeah. And Kev's so much like you.
I love being by myself.
Yeah, I don't like being – I mean, I sometimes at night I like to be by myself watching shows, but then I'm also messaging all of my friends at the same time. So it's not really like I'm that alone. But when we were traveling – I mean, Kev and I have traveled like a lot together. He's the person I've done most of my traveling with. And when we were in Japan after the 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks, I was like – we were at the train station. I was like, are you not having fun? What's wrong with you? Why aren't you talking? Are you not having a good time?
This is the thing when you're a really – it wasn't this case with Fraz because I just told her. When you're a really bubbly person, if you just feel like not talking, everyone thinks there's something wrong with you.
Yeah.
And you're like, I just feel like not saying anything right now.
I just don't want to talk.
Like I don't have any words. I'm having some quiet time.
I'm out of words. Yeah, Kev was like, I'm having a good time. I'm just taking it all in. And I was like, well, it doesn't look like you're having a good time. Like you could at least smile.
If you're a bubbly person and you feel like you want to have a quiet day, people always think something's wrong with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I can never do that like around people because I'm so bubbly and on all the time. I feel like if I did that, people would be like, she hates me.
Yeah. And then you feel that pressure. And that's, I think that's kind of, I just had to say to Fraz, like, I don't really have that much to say today.
I love you to death. Because, I just need a rest.
Yeah. We actually made plans to go for a run like the weekend after Easter. And she's like, we'll be ready to hang out again.
So funny.
I mean, I've been texting her pretty much all day, every day since we got back.
Yeah.
But I just realized that time is really important to me.
Yeah.
And I live by myself. I do so much by myself. Like some days I don't see another human at all. I mean, like strangers on the street.
Yeah.
But
that's wild.
I don't have and I don't even go to cafes or eat out. Like some days I don't have a conversation with anyone.
That's wild.
When we got home and I was driving to the coast, I was going to call my mum, but I was like, I just need to quietly be by myself.
That's so funny because as soon as I heard you were home, I was going to call and be like, hi, how are you? I got distracted.
No.
You'd have been like, I have to go. Just like hang up, not even answer.
I would have just answered and been like, I don't want to talk to anyone, see you, because I would be comfortable in saying that.
And I would have respected your boundaries.
The other things that I learned while I was on my holiday was just I'm not a city person. Yeah. I'm winding down in my old age. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want to be anywhere busy.
I want to be alone.
I'm really, really winding down. Like the last place we went was Ho Chi Minh City. And the first 3 places we went were like nothing that we'd ever seen before. It was so different. Like when we were in Hanoi, on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they shut the streets around this lake and it becomes like this communal street markets, kids playing in the street, food everywhere. It's just like nothing. They do it every week.
Yeah.
And you can just walk on the road. It's so nice. And then we were in Hoi An, which is like quite quiet. And then we were on the cruise. And then we got to this big, noisy, stinky city that doesn't have pedestrian crossings.
Yeah.
So the minute you walk outside of your hotel, and it's hot, it's 37 degrees.
Oh my God.
The minute you walk out of your hotel, you need to have your wits about you. And just like the mental load of crossing the road was
not getting hit by a car.
much.
And by the end of your trip, you're so tired and stuff as well.
Yeah. So I just realized that, and I don't think I've ever really been a city person. Like I loved living in Kangaroo Point where you're like a little bit out of the action.
Yeah.
But even when I go into Brisbane CBD, I'm like, it's too fast.
I don't know if you should go to Japan.
Or New York City.
Yeah.
My brain is just going to explode.
Maybe when you go to Japan, you should go to Kyoto, and Osaka might be fine, but I don't know if Tokyo is for you. Or if you go to Tokyo, go 1 day in the city and then have 2 days not.
See, we had 5 days in the city.
Yeah, that's a lot.
If you're planning a trip to Vietnam, I would go to Ho Chi Minh City first, and you probably only need to stay there 1 or 2 nights. Like you get massages, you go shopping.
Yeah.
Oh, like there's things to see. Actually, there's like the tunnels from the Vietnam War. You go like out of town and see them. That I would definitely recommend that experience because it's just amazing. But in the city, it's just a city.
Yeah.
But obviously, I hope that none of that come across as that I wasn't absolutely grateful for the entire experience.
Yeah.
It was such a blessing to be able to travel, and it was so easy to work while I was away.
Yeah, that's
which was
cool.
fantastic, and keep my business running. And my clients were really encouraging of me having a bit of a break whilst still making sure that we, checked in and all of that. Absolutely amazing trip. But obviously I'm always going to give everybody the full picture.
Yeah. That's why we love it. An honest review.
An honest review.
Yeah.
So I had written in the script for you to share some things that you learnt while traveling, because you've traveled quite a lot.
Yeah.
But we've got other things to talk about too. We've got a lot to get through.
We do. Well, just like the main thing. I mean, I can't say – I feel like everything I learned traveling was just like reinforcing what I already knew, like my priorities and what's important to me in life. It's like spending time with my family and friends and traveling and exploring cultures and stuff like that. It's always been like more important to me than anything else. And then just like I'm a very resourceful person.
You've lost luggage before, hey?
I've lost luggage 3 times.
3 times?
Yeah. Yeah. I've lost luggage in Korea, London. I don't know. It seems to happen to me quite a bit.
So you're like, whatever.
So when you were like, I lost my luggage, and I was like, it's going to show up. Like, don't worry. It'll show up like after a few days.
I thought it was going to appear, you know, I'm forever the optimist. I thought it was going to appear so fast.
Yeah.
And then when it like had been many days, I was like, okay, I'm getting a bit worried that I'm never going to get it. And I was like, I don't care if it shows up in a month.
Yeah.
I'd just like to get it
You
back.
just want it back.
But then I was like, no, who gives a fuck? Like it was a whole grieving process. But I never like got angry or cried. Like,
Yeah, that's mainly what I've learned. I'm resourceful. I think I just travel really well. I love it. Yeah.
Do you find it really hard to travel with your dietary requirements? We commented a million times on how easy it was to not have any.
Yes, that was what Kev said when I was like, I don't know what to say to this question. He was like, you should say that you learn that you get hangry and that you get really cranky when you don't eat. It is really hard. In Japan, there were some days where I just like didn't eat at all.
You didn't get any of that chicken from this. Have you seen that they've just got like cooked chicken breast? They had it in Vietnam too. They have just cooked chicken breast in plastic in the 7-Eleven.
Oh, I had that. Yeah, I did.
Was it nice?
It was fine. It just tasted like boiled chicken.
Right.
But you have to be careful because in 7-Eleven it's gluten-free, but then in one of the other convenience stores it wasn't because it had like a vinegar in it.
We ate no snacks.
Oh.
Like we on the day that we were doing the last food tour, we had stretched out brekkie so much that we bought a small packet of chips to share just so that we didn't get hangry, but we didn't eat any snacks. We were purely like, give us Vietnamese food off the street.
Food. Yeah, Vietnamese is my favorite food, so I would love to do that. But even like we're thinking that this year instead of going to Noosa, we might go to Fiji, but I've got to do a lot of research into like if I can eat anything there. So if anyone's listening and they're a celiac or allergic to dairy and they've been to Fiji, that might be helpful.
It looks like a lot of meat and fresh produce.
Yeah, which is fine unless they're cooking like meat.
Oh, I think they cook some things in flour.
Yeah, and if they cook things on the same grill.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a minefield.
Okay, let's talk about it.
Let's go. The triathlon.
The triathlon.
So as everyone knows, I decided to do a triathlon when we interviewed Emmy. What was that, August last year?
Episode 3.
Yeah. And Tegan did a little program up for me and I really stuck to it. In between all of that, had the laparoscopy, blah, 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 was very sick and then started this new medication just before Christmas, which has meant that I've been the healthiest that I've been in like 10 years. I've been able to eat and nourish myself. So I really upped my training from Christmas. Was swimming 3 times a week, was running, bike riding, going to the gym, doing all the things. Felt the best I've ever been. This is the most fit I've ever been in my life. And got up to Mooloolaba on the Friday. And when I say everything went wrong, everything went wrong. So like in the morning, my brother was going to look after Villanelle, but there was a bit of miscommunication and that didn't work out. Had to spend the trip up there like sorting out someone else to do it. And
I didn't know that part.
Yeah. And I was like, that's fine. It's fine. Sorted. Don't worry. That's the last bad thing that's going to happen. Get to Mooloolaba and the accommodation call me and they're like, oh, we've double booked your room, but it's not our fault. It's booking.com's. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? So then I have to speak to booking.com for like an hour, which is impossible. And you know how you just said you stayed really calm and you were really proud of yourself? I had stayed calm for like 45 minutes. And then this woman said to me, so essentially my room got cancelled. We booked another room. So the original room was $300. she was like, you'll get that money back in 10 days. And I was like, okay. We book another room for $300.
Same hotel?
Different hotel, which I found out after the fact was 45 minutes away. So we booked this other hotel.
Because booking around those events is impossible. Remember they cancelled my accommodation for the Gold Coast Marathon, except for that I sassed them back into it.
So after they booked this second accommodation, which is now $300, and then I get off the phone, we realize it's 45 minutes away. I call her back and I'm like, I can't stay 45 minutes away. I have to get up at 4 a.m. tomorrow morning. Like that's not going to work.
You may as well stay in Brizzy.
And then we also find out it's at a pub. So I'm not going to get any sleep. It's going to be a nightmare. Also, there's one bed for 5 of us because it was me, Kev, the kids, and my mum.
That's 6 of you.
6 of us. So that didn't work. Call her back and I'm like, hi, I need you to change my hotels. And I have just now found one that is like literally on the route of the track, like in Alex Headlands with 2 bedrooms. It's perfect. I'm like, just move me to that. So she's like, okay, you're going to have to pay for that up front and then you'll get the other $300 back in 10 days. So now I've forked out $600 and she wants me to pay another $350 for this new room. And I was like, is there not something you can do? Because like I don't have access to another $350 right now, which like I did, but like it's just the principle.
Yeah, they can figure it out.
And this is her advice to me after like now it's been like an hour and a half. She goes, we recommend that you call and borrow it from a family member or a friend.
What?
And I said, I'm sorry, is this your official advice? And she was like, we understand your problem, Alex, and we feel badly for you, but this isn't our issue. We recommend that you contact family and friends. And I was like, I'm sorry, are you reading this off a script? Is this really your advice? And I lost it and I threw my coffee on the ground.
Oh, little tanty.
I threw it. I was like, I muted it and I was like, ah! And I threw my coffee on the floor and then I turn around and there's this woman and like a small child staring at me. And I'm like, I'm so sorry, it's booking.com. And she's like, I get it. Anyway, had to fork out another $350. So was out at that stage like over $900. They still haven't given the money back. So anyway, whatever.
That's been more than 10 days.
It's been a long time. Hung up and I was like, I've got accommodation now. Just going to let it go, breathe. Then I go.
That's so lucky that you even got, someone must have cancelled.
Someone must have cancelled. Anyway, then I decide to go for a swim where the try is going to be the next day just so I can suss it out.
Which is a strange move, but anyway.
Well,
yeah, get your bearings.
Yeah, get my bearings, suss it out a bit. And I get there and I'm like, oh, it's really choppy and the water's like dark. It didn't look very nice. But I was like, it's fine, whatever. Go for a swim and I'm like out in the water and this thing pops up next to me. And I was like, holy fuck, it's a shark, which shark's my favorite animal in the world, but I don't really want to be swimming next to one.
Not unless you're in a cage.
Anyway, then I start swimming as fast as I can to get back into shore. And I was like, oh, if I can swim this fast tomorrow, I'm going to do great. And then it pops up his head again next to me and I was like, what the fuck? And then I got back on shore and I was looking at and it actually turned out to be a sea turtle.
And I had told you the day before that in Vietnam, turtles are a sign of longevity.
Yep. And that you wanted to get a turtle tattoo.
I want to get a turtle tattoo because we all know I'm obsessed with longevity.
Yep.
So we thought good omen.
I was like, this is a good omen. I used to have a turtle tattoo, which I told you about.
Oh, is it removed or covered?
It's covered.
I was like, how have I not seen this when you sent me the photo?
It's covered.
That probably won't be the turtle that I get.
No. Anyway, I was like, oh, this is good. Things are turning around. So then I go to check in and that was fine. That was a bit of a vibe. That was nice. And then I go to check in my bike and I wheel it to like my little area where I'm setting it up. And this lovely volunteer, this old man comes up to me. He's like, love, your tire's completely flat. And I was like, what do you mean? I was like, my best friend like blew it up for me the day before. Like he's a mechanic, like it's fine. And he goes, no, that's flat. And it was like falling off the thing, but I hadn't noticed. And he's like, oh love, do you have a pump and a tube? I'm like, I don't know what a tube is. I've ridden this bike 4 times.
You also need to learn about how to do the bike stuff.
Yeah.
This is why I don't do the bike leg.
I was like, if this happens to me during the race,
because I
just
think
out.
People let their tires down and then pump them up for this not to happen.
So that would make sense.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think that that's a thing.
Well then, so this is at 4:45.
PM.
So
The
PM,
night before.
The night before. So then I've got 15 minutes to get to the Giant store around the corner in my little bar and get a new tube and a new tyre to get it back in. Otherwise, I'm going to have to come back at 4 a.m. and pray to God someone is available in the bike mechanic area to do it for me. So we rushed to the Giant store and I like run in, and the guys were so lovely, and I think they felt really sorry for me because they were like giving me some free merch and stuff.
Like, look at this noob.
Oh, they were like, oh, what happened? I was like, I don't know. And they're like, is it a tube issue? And I'm like, I don't know.
What the fuck is a tube? I thought it was a tyre.
Yes, I thought it was a tyre. I was
no
like,
idea.
no, there's something wrong with the tyre. And
This
he's
is
like,
why I don't do the bike leg.
oh my
It's too much
God.
equipment.
It was so stressful. Anyway, they fixed it for me and they're like showing me how they fixed it. And I was like, cool. I don't know. And they were like, oh, do you want us to give you like a pump? And I'm like, no, because I don't know how to pump it up. Just like give me the bike. Anyway, so that was another $50. Anyway, I take it back and get it checked in and went and said thank you to that man and whatnot. Got back to the hotel. The stuff I got for my dinner I'd like left all this stuff off because I was so stressed. Magnolia gets a fever, so she doesn't go to sleep. She's all restless, stressful. But then I get all my stuff organized and I'm like feeling good still despite all this. And everyone's like, oh, don't worry, everything's gone wrong today, which means tomorrow's going to be amazing. And I was like, yeah, it is. I'm like so pumped. Go to bed, wake up, feeling like really energized, feeling great, like put my number on and everything, get all ready, and I'm like so hyper.
What about
like
when you text me to ask when you put the tattoos on? But didn't you say it in a really weird way? You said something like install the number or something.
I said,
and I was
yeah,
like,
when do I install the number?
Put the tattoos on? Do I do it in the morning or at night?
Well, yes, did all that in the morning. I was feeling so good. And then in the car, I was almost crying because my song, which is like my mantra, that Sunny song, that came on.
Oh, yeah, Alex has the fucking weirdest playlist.
It is. It's all like Motown music and soul music. Anyway.
It's strange. It's a strange workout
It's more
playlist.
of a mental thing. And like one of the lines in Sunny is, Sunny, yesterday my life was like sad and blue and today it's better. Anyway, that comes on in the car and I start crying and I'm like, today I'm just going to embrace Tegan's mentality. And I said to Kev, I'm just going into this fucking thing coming from a place of gratitude. And Kev's like, oh my God, I've never heard you speak these words. I'm like, no, for real though, I am, like, because I'm so grateful.
Kev's like, did you hear your head at the tire shop?
I'm like, no, I'm so grateful that I've been that sick for so long. I can't even believe that I'm at the point where I can do something like this. And I wasn't sick. I didn't feel nervous. I didn't have butterflies. I didn't throw up, which is normally what happens to me before any event, whether it's exciting or not.
Maybe you're not anxious. Maybe you're just unwell.
Well, anyway, then I was like, okay, this is going to be so good. I was so fucking excited. Anyway, I made 2 friends in the line and
Of course you did.
we were all talking about like our times and we were a bit nervous because like we were the last race of the day. And so there was cut-off times. Like if you didn't do the swim in this amount of time, you were cut out type things.
They leave you in the ocean.
So we were like, oh my God. But then we were still fine. We're like, it's fine. We're going to get through this together. And I'm like, great. So I'm going to have 2 friends to cross the line with. I'd fully envisioned that I might be the last person crossing the line, but that's fine.
It's not really how it works, but yeah.
But you know.
Everyone gets all muddled up. Yeah.
Well,
keep going.
anyway, I was just excited. I was so excited. I get in the water. So like over the course of the morning, it started off rough and it had just gotten like rougher and rougher. And before my race, it calmed down for a bit and I was like, cool. But then it got very choppy and the wind really picked up. So I get in the water and I'm like doing good. Like I was keeping up with like the pack that I had set off in. I was feeling really good. It was really choppy and then there was quite big waves as well because it's Mooloolaba Beach.
Remember when we swam at Tally and you're like, it'll be like this, hey? And I'm like, oh. But this is something else altogether.
Yeah. So I had not anticipated this like at all.
We're in a cyclone.
And I get around and so I'd gotten around to like the last buoy and I was doing so well. And then I take a big breath and a wave crashes on me and I just swallowed so much salt water. And I come up and I'm like, but I'm fine. I can keep going. And then the next wave in the set smashes me. And then I just swallowed so much more water. And then I'm also dragged back like far away from the pack. And then I'm like choking in the water.
Please keep that choking sound in the recording.
But I was like, stay calm, you're okay. And the boat comes over, like the rescue boat, and they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm fine. And I'm like, I'm okay, I can do this. And they're like, oh, love, we might have to take you in. I'm like, no. I am not getting rescued, because I'd made so many jokes in the lead up to like you and Kev about like, imagine if I'm rescued. How embarrassing. And anyway, I'm like, no, I can keep going. And they're like, oh, I don't know. And I'm like choking. And they're like, no. Anyway, I start swimming and then I vomit salt water. And then I'm like fully choking. And then like the more I'm trying to breathe, it's so choppy, just more salt water starts coming in. And they come up to me and they're like, we're going to have to take you in. And I was just like, oh my God. And I was sitting in the boat and I was like, I can't believe this is happening. And they're like, it's okay. Like we've taken more people in today. Like it's not just you. And I was like, Anyway, I don't think I've told you this bit. So they take me in and they get called back out again. So they're like, we're going to have to just drop you because we have to get back out. So they sort of drop me where I can't stand and they drop me down and I lose my footing and a wave crashes over me. And then the boat like gets pushed in the wave and the boat comes on top of me. It's like, great, I'm going to get chopped up in a fucking propeller now. Anyway, I didn't and I found my footing and I come out and I just vomit everywhere. And then I'm coughing and it was horrific. And then the medic like takes me over to sit down and I'm like, I'm fine now. Can I keep going? And they're like, no. And I'm like, you can disqualify me. I just want to finish. And they're like, no, because the risk of you getting secondary drowning, you've swallowed a lot of water. And I'm like, please. Anyway, so the girl radios in and she's like, she wants to keep going. And they're like, no. Anyway, I was just so gutted. I couldn't believe it. But then like in my style, I'm still making jokes with everyone. And I was in the buggy and I'm still vomiting and coughing and stuff. And the guy was like, do you want to call your husband? And I was like, I'll call him in a minute. And they're like, oh, he's going to be so shocked. And I was like, no. And they're like, is he expecting you to not do well? I'm like, no. He thinks I'm going to do really well, but this is the sort of thing that happens to me. Like, if you know me, this is not a surprise. And he was like, oh, and then we're laughing. And he's like, at least it makes for a good story. And I'm like, I've got enough of those. Like, I've got
I wasn't
plenty.
looking for a story. I'm looking for a fucking medal. I want to
Right?
finish this race.
Anyway, then I go to the medic tent and they like checked me over and they were like, oh, you know, I'd swallowed so much water, but they were like, you're like okay to go, but maybe like go and get checked again later. Anyway, then had to call Kev and wrap it up and go back and get my bike and go home. And it was just, I didn't want to talk about it. And I just felt like it was so disappointing.
It happens all the time.
Yeah. You said that and that made me feel better.
Like in the tries that I've done, touch wood, my team's been okay.
Yeah.
But one of my friends has been rescued on the swim. There was that time that Rhett missed the turnaround and like screwed up the run. Like it happens all the time. Like it was a running joke, like are they ever going to not get disqualified? Yeah. But also keep in mind as well, what Alex hasn't said is they actually changed the course the following day because the conditions were so bad.
Yeah, and I think they took in like 4 people from my race, and then I was hearing like as the day went on that they had taken in a few people, and there were 2 mums that school mums that are experienced in tries that did it at like the same time as me, and they were saying it's the worst conditions they've swum in.
That Mooloolaba swim is tough.
It is.
Because I've done Noosa and Mooloolaba. Yeah. And Noosa is like swimming in a pool.
That's what everyone says.
Mooloolaba last year. That's why when you guys said at Tally, like, oh, it'll be like this, I'm like, but this was insane.
Yeah. In hindsight, I wish I had picked a more chill location. And at first I was like, I'll do it again. It'll be fine. I'll do it again. But honestly, I was coughing up salt water for like 4 days. I just felt really unwell for like a week.
I've got an idea.
Yeah. Yep. You're going to set me a new challenge.
Yeah. Why don't you do the 10K at GC Marathon?
Someone else suggested that as well. I don't know. I've got a few things.
There's going to be so many of our friends down there and it's so fun. And it's only a 10K run. You'll be able to do it easy.
You said this about the sprint try. Honestly, I just feel
this is a freak accident. This has nothing to do with your capabilities.
Yeah, I know. I just feel like so disheartened because I don't put myself out there ever to do anything physical like this. This is the first time I've ever tried.
We're still going to do the distance. I know you've got plans for different things, but even if you were going to train for something later in the year, you could incorporate a little bit of running. You could come to Gold Coast Marathon. Yeah. I'm going to be there. Fraz is going to be there. Asheville's going to be there.
Yeah.
Give you something to train towards, keep you on this path of health and fitness.
Yeah,
Well, I know you're still going to the gym. And
Yeah, I'm still really, really, really grateful. I don't know if everyone saw that post I posted, which is very unlike me as well, but everyone was asking me how it went, so I felt like I had to give an update. But I'm so grateful for where it's gotten me, and I'm still doing everything that was in my program other than the bike riding because I find that so fucking boring. But I will keep doing the bike when I have to. But I might do Yamba in November. I might, because I'm really familiar with Whiting Beach. That's where my pop swims 2Ks a day, and I know the course, and I feel like that gives me a whole year to get over the trauma of almost dying.
fair.
But yeah, I will do a few little things. I was looking at the bridge to Brisbane and stuff like that as well. And yeah, like I've said, like I'm fully obsessed with going to the gym now, and I'm loving that. And I've been running still. So I am going for a swim tomorrow. That'll be the first time back in the water.
How are you feeling?
I feel all right. I just had fully envisioned myself going over that line and like talking about it on the pod and being so proud of myself. And so I'm really upset that didn't happen.
Well, you should still be proud of yourself.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just one of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was out of my control. But yes. Anyway.
You're still a Fitspo.
I do feel really good about feeling fit. But this leads me into
The segment.
our segment. So,
We have done this segment before.
yes.
I think this is the second time.
I feel like that was a few months ago though.
Oh, it's ages ago.
Yeah.
It's probably like 6 months ago.
Yeah. So you've asked what we're doing right now in regards to personal development.
I can see your eyes. Alex doesn't like the term personal development.
I don't.
And I love it.
You do, but that's okay. It's just the term. I just feel like it's so loaded in like the whole wellness space and stuff like that. It's just all the stuff that comes with it. But I definitely see the value in a lot of the stuff that you talk about. It's just the term.
It just means
and
working
the
on
language.
yourself.
Exactly.
What are you doing to
Ways
work
that
on
we're
yourself?
working on ourselves. So when I was drowning, I felt very weak. I felt fit, but I felt like flimsy, like a piece of paper. Do you know what I mean? I just felt, and I know.
That's the ocean though.
Yeah, Kev said that, but I just felt very, very, very weak and just flimsy, and I hated it. And so now I'm just working on getting stronger. And
Bulk season.
well,
Baby.
I've changed the way that I've been doing things at the gym, and I've been eating a lot more and trying to have lots more protein and stuff. But I think my thing that I want to do with you after listening to a podcast we did a few weeks ago, I think I want to do a build phase.
Sick.
Because
Let's go.
I feel like that would make me feel really good physically, and it might achieve like mentally like what I was going through when I was drowning, and I feel like that might make me feel better. But also I feel like that would be a big challenge for me because I have dealt with some issues in the past with disordered eating and stuff, but I'm very mentally strong in that aspect now. But I do feel like it would still be a challenge.
Yeah. Oh, it's a massive challenge. It's a mental challenge.
Yeah.
Physical and mental. But you
So-
learn so much about yourself doing a build phase. I was having that exact conversation with a client last night.
Yeah. Yeah. And you
It's
said that
good
in the
for you.
podcast. Yeah. So I think I want to do that. And it's kind of a good time because we've got the engagement party in 2 weeks of
Yeah.
Asheville. And then the wedding is in April next year.
Yeah.
And I'm a bridesmaid. So I want to look my
You could do a
fittest and
9-month
best.
build and then a 3-month cut.
Yeah. So then
And yeah, you could be
nice photos of me looking.
absolutely fucking jacked. Yeah, fun. Let's do it.
Okay. Cool. Let's do that.
Cool.
Let's
We'll be going in totally different directions because I'm just coming off the back of the summer where I spend all my time trying to get some sort of an ass.
Yeah.
And then it's marathon season, baby. Back to Pancake City.
You're going to run it all off.
Run it off.
This is the first time in my life that I've had like a little bit of definition. I have a little bit of a butt.
Nice.
I always have had a pancake butt, so I want to work on that.
My pancake butt is coming back.
You know, that marathon body.
Fun.
Cool.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's.
So your personal development is going to be a fucking dirty bulk.
yeah,
Not dirty though. We do
No.
everything the right way.
yeah.
Fun.
I'm excited to eat more.
Yeah.
Or
Eating's
more of
great.
the right stuff. I mean, I definitely eat a lot, but I find it hard when I'm
good
busy.
thing is you'll be able to keep having those protein balls, protein in inverted commas, just to
Protein.
get your calories up.
Yeah.
But you have to get your protein from elsewhere because there's no protein in them. Yeah, this is going to be good. This will be interesting.
Cool.
I'm excited.
All right, stay tuned, guys.
Watch this space.
What are you doing?
Fucking heaps, mate. I had an epiphany on my run yesterday.
Okay.
I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but I was a different person when I finished my run than when I started. So I haven't been doing any active personal development. And when I say that, I am really into listening to podcasts, journaling, meditation, speaking with my friends a lot about my limiting beliefs and working through stuff like that. Like I love that shit. Haven't been doing any of that. I haven't been able to get into podcasts this whole year. I don't think I've listened to a podcast before yesterday except for ours. And I've listened to a few of the periodical. But obviously, like, these things are still happening. I've been massively anchoring into my gratitude practice with the girls, which is just absolutely life-changing. I feel like I've been really working on my happiness. I've been meeting a lot of new people, which is good for me.
You've put yourself out in different ways.
Yeah, and I've been, like, learning new skills. Doing my surfing. And like I've mentioned before, I feel like a little bit of a shift in who I want to work with my clients. So I'm definitely like in a little bit of an evolution phase, but I'm just ready to get back into podcasts, journaling, meditation. I randomly thought that I would listen to this certain podcast on my run and started listening. Then I had just had all of these limiting beliefs come up.
What are limiting beliefs?
Okay, good question. So a limiting belief would be something that you believe to be true that isn't necessarily true, but that's blocking you from what you want to achieve.
Yeah.
So,
like self-doubt?
So for me, this is very personal, but I'm happy to share. I still hold the limiting belief that I won't be in a long-term committed relationship and that I won't find a love like my friends have. I believe that.
Okay. So it's like negative thoughts that are getting in your way.
Well, it's built up over time. It's usually from your childhood or like some sort of experiences that you have had.
Yeah.
And I don't really have an example of a happy relationship in my immediate family. And I have, you know, a few things that have come from past relationships as well.
Yeah.
And even though like you might think you work through these things, but then you realize like you still have this belief.
Yeah.
And even if we know that that's not the truth, at our core, we still believe that until we like really, really work through it and, you know, work out where it came from, if there's any truth to it. If we asked our friends, would they agree with it?
Yeah.
How do we reframe it? And then how do we set up some statements that align with our new belief and how do we embody that?
So it's a lot of psychology, really. One of mine would be that I believe that I'm dumb.
Yep.
So
if you like, you've spoken about that before and about where that comes from. And if this is something that comes up for you and, you know, we might know that it's not true, but it comes up again and again and again. And at some point that is part of what we believe.
Yeah.
And if we have that belief, and we've kind of talked about this before, our actions will align with that.
Yeah.
Whether it's subconsciously or not.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that we find these limiting beliefs and work through them and work on them. Otherwise, we always get stuck in the same place.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So I obviously have a few around relationships that I really need to work on, and I still have a few around money and where I can go with my business. So this all just came in, but then also I was getting all these great ideas for this new program that I'm going to be launching, which is in the personal development mindset space.
Yeah.
And just a reminder that, you know, you can be teaching these things and still be a work in progress yourself, because this is something that you never clock. Like there's always going to be more things to work on.
Yeah.
So I'm simultaneously having this run where I'm going, fuck, this is still coming up and I've got to work on this because it's going to continue to impact my life if I don't, and I'm not going to, you know, eventually find that relationship.
Yeah.
And then simultaneously I'm like, oh, I've got this amazing idea for this course that I'm launching and I'm going to do this and this and this and this.
Yeah.
So when I finished the run, I was like, oh.
My head.
Oh. And I listened to the podcast, and then the next 40 minutes on my run, I just listened in silence and just started like working through all these things. So in answer to the question, a fucking lot.
You're doing a lot.
I'm going to be doing a lot.
I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Anytime that you actively work on yourself, it's only hugely positive. So
yeah,
I'm excited too.
Yeah, cool.
Cool. Watch this space.
Exciting.
So thank you to everyone for listening to another episode of the Bread and Better podcast. It's so good to be back and recording again.
If you enjoy the podcast, please take the time to head to wherever you are listening so that you can leave us a rating or review to help us grow the podcast. If you would like a podcast of your own, or if you would like some amazing audio content that aligns with your business, please send me an email, alex@heyourproductions.com, or follow me on Instagram @heyourproductions.
And you can find me, Tegan, on Instagram under the handle Fitty, FITTY_Tegs, TEGS, for all things health, fitness, mindset, and lifestyle. I have a brand new offering launching very soon, which I just touched on, that listeners of the podcast might be interested in.
Yay!
Thanks, guys. Good to be back.
Thank you. Good to have you back.